This Organized Chaos podcast is brought to you by JEMS Art Studio. JEMS Art Studio is an online store that allows access to prints that you can use for most anything, obviously as just a picture, or as a wallpaper, or as a bookmark, or anything you can think of. You can find JEMS Art Studio at etsy.com/shop/JEMS Art Studio. This podcast is also brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you. So, to end out the episode, I still have my soapbox, and I'm going to be talking about COVID, which is something I know a lot of people haven't heard about yet. COVID is not a thing in most people's lives. I should probably take off Revenge of the Nerds.
Well, I mean, I gotta say that my phone service has been really crappy since my 5G shot, so...
Really? I really found my Wi-Fi is doing great since my shot.
my phone service itself, like when I'm out in the world.
Ooh. Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was like a
great Wi-Fi anymore. Yeah. It's just everywhere I go, I got it.
Oh, it's just so hard to find the right information. My old site's gone. Yeah. He just turned out to be some guy living in his mom's basement. I just...
Aww. But anyways, the news is how the news is reporting the COVID right now is actually outrageously into getting serious. It's outrageously irresponsible. And they're doing it for shock value. I put together a clip here. We'll go ahead and play it right now. But it's insane how they are reporting this right now. And, hey, that is actually something I want, but that's not what I meant to click on. Here we go.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, for the first time in months, the CDC is predicting that the rate of COVID deaths in the U.S. will rise well into August. Across the country, the average daily number of new infections have more than tripled in a month. Think about that. And there's this. Nearly 1 in 3 U.S. counties are experiencing a rapid spread of the virus. This summer surge is driven by that highly contagious Delta variant.
This morning, the U.S. facing a COVID resurgence. New cases tripling in the last month, driven in part by the Delta variant, now estimated to make up 83% of new infections.
Painting a grim picture of the new reality inside some hospitals, tonight the numbers from the CDC reflect our nation slowly slipping back towards crisis. As we surpass 50,000 infections a day, new cases, hospitalizations, even daily deaths are spiking again.
Hospital admissions on the rise in 36 states.
Experts say that Delta variant has a viral load that is 1,000 times higher than the original coronavirus strain. One of the experts here in Baton Rouge said it appears as though the Delta variant turns off your immune system for just a little bit, allowing that virus to multiply inside of you even before antibodies can start being developed.
In the nation's former COVID capital, new infections have increased nearly 2,000%.
So what the news is doing is they're reporting on COVID, but it's all about that. What they'd like to do is report on the percentages or making it sound like a big story. They will, in their defense, that clip was taken all from NBC, ABC, and CBS all in the past couple of days of how they're talking about COVID. They will occasionally bring up the vaccine numbers, but only as a slight aside, and primarily focus on the huge surge and how bad COVID is, and oh my God, COVID's gonna kill us all. And some of the stuff they're ignoring is actually unbelievably vital. I have some of the stats right here. So Texas right now, according to the Texas Tribune, where did I see? Okay. There have been 9,000 COVID deaths since February in Texas, according to the Texas Tribune, and 43 of those have been people who are fully vaccinated. If you're wondering, that means 0.4% of the people who have died were fully vaccinated. Now, according to Forbes, in the month of June in the state of Maryland, 0 fully vaccinated people have died of COVID. According to Deadline, 99.8% of all COVID deaths in LA were among the unvaccinated over the past 6 months. According to the Associated Press, AP, in the month of June, 0.8% of COVID deaths in the U.S. were among the vaccinated. So what this tells us is that we have an epidemic almost exclusively among the unvaccinated. The story that the news is really ignoring in an attempt to gin up the fear-mongering and get the ratings is that the vaccines work. They work extremely well. Yes, there are breakthrough cases, but they are in the extreme minority. The news is instead just hyping up, oh my God, isn't COVID bad? And it makes it sound like we are all going to die from COVID because these vaccines aren't working and it's all surging. And they do this by like disguising the numbers and percentages. They will be like, oh, we have a 5,000% increase in COVID. How many COVID cases do we have there? 1. Oh, well, okay. They're just ginning it up, and they're hiding the real numbers. And it's an incredibly frustrating situation because right now what we have is a vaccine that works, and the news barely talks about it. And it's extremely frustrating. And at the end of the day, the moral is get vaccinated. Get vaccinated, and then we can end this thing. Because this pandemic, it's going among the unvaccinated people. If it mutates to something that the vaccine isn't effective against, which it hasn't yet, it'll do it within that group of people. And the news is frustratingly ignoring this. And, I'm not even talking about the partisan networks. This is ABC, NBC, and
CBS.
CBS. Yes. They're talking about this as if, oh my God, COVID will kill us all. And vaccines work. And they're ignoring that just as much as possible. Just a little bit here and there. Oh, well, it's not. They'll be like, oh my God, 200% increase.
To cut in here for a second. Sorry to throw you off.
Yes.
But these
Go
are
ahead.
the state local ones, right? Or like our major 3 in our state? Or are these like national?
What are you talking
Like
about?
the national news networks, like the big 3.
Yeah, no, those are the national news.
National news? Jesus.
Yes, those are all clips from national news.
That's kind of horrendous and disgusting at the same time.
Yeah, well, COVID was good for ratings, and while COVID was actually a huge deal, if they're ginning it up as a big deal, I'm kind of okay with it. But right now, they're still doing it just to gin up those ratings. It's like, guys,
There's more going on.
if you get vaccinated, it's over. That's the concern. The main story should be we need to get these vaccines out. Like something they've not really touched upon. The reason why the Olympics are such a big deal right now is I think it's probably better now, but like a couple weeks ago, it was like 6% of the Japanese population was vaccinated.
Yeah.
That's why that was a big deal. And the story is we need to get these vaccines out. We need to get in people's arms. Not, oh my God, COVID will kill us all. Because if you hear, oh my God, COVID will kill us all, and some people are vaccinated, you might just think, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. But it does matter.
Jeez.
But those are just my thoughts, and it's unbelievably frustrating how the national news is reporting this.
Yeah, that is. That's. I mean, for news, I personally, my main source for news, you already referenced them earlier, and that's the Associated Press. Because straight down.
Well, yeah.
Straight down the middle. Here's what we know. Here's what this means.
A lot of the news has the issue, but I do find like written sources are usually better, but you got to look at all the sources. Like I go online for a lot of stuff, but you got to be careful with all that stuff. You got to make sure they know what they're talking about, because there's so much online bullshit.
You could fall into a Q hole very easily, yes.
Oh, yeah. Q. Oh, God.
But no, you're absolutely right, but I do check other resources. I do check those main ones. I also read the Post and the Times and the Journal. And those are like the main ones I will check. I have seen a few great articles covering certain stories from the Texas Tribune, so I thought it was kind of interesting that you brought them up.
Yeah.
But,
well,
I hear locally, like I'll hear it on local radio, and this is like here in Columbus, so like local Columbus radio, like news radio. I'll hear them just say, "Oh, we had and today's numbers of cases were 20, and yesterday's reported cases were 17."
Yeah, exactly. That's more helpful.
And it's red, but hospitals are still full of people who have it. But the percentage of 95% of the people who are in hospitals are unvaccinated.
Yes, and that should be the story. If you go on national news, that's the story.
Yeah.
Hey, COVID cases are surging, but just stress all the time. It's among the unvaccinated. You don't want to be one of these numbers? Get a fucking shot. Go to your local grocery store and get a shot. That's all you gotta do.
They are free of charge.
Yes.
I don't know how familiar you are with Columbus, but when I got mine, they had it at a drive-through like vaccination center at the Ohio, like the fairgrounds. Like, literally drove my car in, and it was empty. Like, nobody was there. Me and a car following me. That just some people just like were pulling in to get their shot too. All these empty lanes. Got my shot. Had to sit and wait a little, and I was good.
Yeah, that second shot kind of knocked me on my butt. But that's the thing. Like, if you're concerned about side effects, there are side effects, but they last for like a day, and they're a lot better than the side effects of COVID.
Yeah. I mean, I did the one and done. I did the J&J. I was brave.
Yeah.
And
they taught
the side effects I had a sore arm. I kind of felt like shit the day of for like the remainder of the day. But I wasn't violently ill by any means. I just kind of felt cruddy. Like, I would compare it to not getting enough sleep.
Well, lots of people like to talk about the numbers too. And Johnson & Johnson, actually, their numbers are not well represented. Because when Pfizer did their test, it was when COVID was much less a severe thing, so there's much less people to get exposed to it. So their numbers look really good. Johnson & Johnson actually did their numbers when COVID was spiking, so their numbers don't look as good. And they actually did, I believe, in the U.S. and Africa, I believe they also did their test, which I believe Pfizer and Moderna just did their test in America. So that's why their numbers are skewed. That being said, it still is almost 100% effective against serious hospitalization or death. So, like, if you just don't want to do a one and done, Johnson & Johnson works good. I bet you those, the efficacy rate, I bet you if Johnson & Johnson did their test during the same time as Pfizer and Moderna, it'd actually be much higher. So if you want to do one and done, Johnson & Johnson, ignore the numbers, go for it. No.
That was really how they did their testing, and when they did their testing is really what made me decide on Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson's good. I did Pfizer. That second shot, I had to work the day of that second shot, and that knocked me on my ass. I was miserable that day. That being said, almost like the day after that, I actually found a lot of my lingering COVID symptoms from when I had symptoms. They were gone. I felt like so much better like 2 days after the shot. It was amazing.
I had a mild symptom, but I had tested myself multiple times and always had a negative test, but just like I had like the runny nose, but I was kind of...
Yeah. Well, it's always good to be safe rather than sorry.
I was also born with a messed up septum, so it kind of will no matter what.
Yeah.
Nothing I can do about that. Really loved all those glares in the grocery store when I'm just... And since it's all compressed on my face, it has nowhere to go but just my nose.
That is one thing I noticed with the mask. Like if I had a little cough or something, I would just cough into the mask anymore. And then I had to get back used to not doing that, of course.
Yeah.
But
I still have like 3 in my car.
I had to put some mask in my car because my son obviously isn't vaccinated yet. And I keep on forgetting to grab a mask for him when we go out. But, yes. The moral of the story is get a vaccine.
Shot.
But, yes, that's everything we had lined up for today. Any parting thoughts,
Be well and do good.
Yes. Enjoy life. Get yourself a vaccine.
And don't be a dick.
Yes, that too. If you're really desperate not to get a vaccine, for God's sakes, don't be that person, get a vaccine. Wear a goddamn mask,
just
okay?
Wear one. Like, I could think of several other great comebacks for you to say how hard it is to breathe, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to get CO2 poisoning. Hey, no, you're not. There's a big difference between monoxide and dioxide.
Yeah.
But, you know, like,
dude,
if a furry can wear it for a whole convention.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you have trouble breathing through a mask, guess what? There's another option. You get a fucking shot.
Yeah. Or, you know, you could breathe through a ventilator.
Yeah, that works too. I've heard that's tons of fun.
I heard they busted out the iron lungs from storage, so you know, there you go.
Ooh. So that's our show for today. Hope everybody enjoyed, and I hope everybody gets vaccinated. I want to go ahead and add some audio credits at the end here. The theme music you're hearing at the beginning and end of this podcast was written and performed by George Johnson, a very good friend of mine. And my current Patreons are Fel Martins, David Lara, and Lindsay Pankhurst. If you'd like to become a patron, go ahead and follow the link down below. Anything you can provide would be incredibly helpful to this channel. We're barely limping by right now. I'd love to make this my full-time job. I'm miles away from that right now. So any help you could provide, just $1 a month would be amazing. You know you want to. All your friends are doing it.